Awesome. Well, welcome. Dope Nostalgia is a podcast where we talk about things that happened in the 90s as well as what's happening in the careers of artists today. Um, so, Pierce, very popular in Ireland. I'm out of Canada, so it'll be
Oh
nice.
yeah.
Yeah,
Where are you? Where are you?
Edmonton. So we're on the west, out on the west, like uh, not too far from Vancouver, 12-hour drive, which is, in Canada is not a long drive.
That's true. I love Vancouver. It's a bit far
Yeah.
away. Yeah, when I was touring, that was one of the very few places that made an impression on me. Because
Mm.
when you're going in 24 hours in a place,
Yeah.
it's hard to be.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's just like my cat. When I do streams, he does worse than that. He usually shakes the camera.
Yeah, no, she's really wanting to be on the camera today. So
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
yeah, no, touring Canada is no easy feat, that's for sure. If you're doing it, especially if you're doing the bus tours, man.
No, no. It's funny. They know what to do. They know exactly what's important.
Hmm.
That microphone is the most important thing that you shouldn't touch. So I shouldn't touch it.
That's why she's right there. Yes. What made you decide early in your life that you were going to be a musician?
It, Let me see. All right. So, well, I suppose I was musical from a very early age because my mother was a musician. She had a band, and
Mm.
um, she wrote songs. So I was musical for a very early age, but I like a normal boy. I wasn't that, I just sang as a boy soprano, and I did it when I was asked to do it and everything like that. But I think my first experience that made me want to be a musician was when I was about 12. I sang Silent Night in the tops of the town in my hometown,
Oh,
with
wow.
with like a 50-piece choir behind me, and the response and the feeling was very impactful.
Oh, wow.
And then because then I started writing music. I started writing things when I was about 30. I think, yeah, the decision to become a musician was just based on my love for music. I just loved it so much, and it wasn't a rational decision. Certainly wasn't a business decision of any kind.
Okay. Who are your musical heroes growing up?
Oh, Jesus, man, that's a long question. I suppose my parents had a record shop, so I listened to a lot of music when I was growing up. A lot of different kinds of music. So even though I was in Ireland, I was listening to people like Velvet Underground, and they weren't even that popular in America.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I was listening to the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, obviously, and the Beach Boys and all that stuff. And then that move after that, I moved on to God, let me see, like The Cure, Roxy Music, all of that stuff. Leonard Cohen I liked when I was young. I had a pretty wide range of stuff that I liked now, Naomi. It's
Yeah.
a very eclectic taste, to say the
Mhm.
least. And you know, um, it's a long list.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing. And
I think so. Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's not a great thing in the world of music we have now, in that you're supposed to really nail down exactly what you are. To you know,
mhm.
it's like, and that's what's when someone asks me, "What does my music sound like?" That's a very hard question to answer, because I think it represents all those crazy things, you know, all that
Yeah.
stuff. Joni Mitchell, I don't know, I could go on forever,
Yeah. No, that's good. And like with the North American audience, I want to let them know a little bit more about your beginnings too. Your start was with a gentleman by the name of Larry Kerwin.
Larry Kerwin, yeah.
Yeah. How did that come about?
Well, we were both from a little town, and Larry was involved. Larry was studying accountancy and writing songs. I became a professional musician when I was like 17. I went to Germany and played in a soul band there and stuff like that. As an organ player, really, a keyboard player and a piano player. And we lived in Dublin together. We shared a bedsitter in Dublin, and wrote songs together for other people, and then came to America together.
Mm,
So we had a duo for about 7 years, and then we formed a band, a kind of a new wave band, I suppose, called the Major Thinkers.
mm.
So it's, I've known Larry, a very long time, since I was 14.
Wow. And then you had an album come out in 91. Your album now is Heaven.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
How do you feel about that album now looking back at it? What would be some of your favorite tracks on it?
Well, it's very interesting because it was very well received by the critics, and at the time I found it to be quite a painful album to do because
Mm,
it's kind of a breakup album. I broke it up with my girlfriend, and you know it's out of the shit grows the flowers. It's the
yeah.
pain, the pain produced some very, very intense songs that I really still perform. A song called Thunderstorm, which is the first song on the album, and it has wonderful string arrangements by John Simon,
Mm,
and then there's a song on there called All Messed Up that has got great longevity. It kind of song was very painful to
mm.
write, actually. But yeah, I think it stands up. It's like John Simon wrote the most wonderful string arrangements, and it's weird for me because as I said, we had a record shop, and when I was a kid, I was listening to John Simon productions in our record shop. Like he produced all the band albums, and he was really like considered to be the seventh member of the band, you
Hmm.
know, sixth member. How many people were in the band? Five or six? I can't remember.
Easily
Um,
five, probably more.
yeah, and so he produced all the band albums and played on them and stuff like that. So, and then he also produced the Leonard Cohen debut album with all the great songs like "So Long, Marianne," and all those great songs. So I was a big fan of his when I was
Mm,
a teenager. And so to work with him in the studio was kind of mind blowing that
an
that, you know,
experience. Yeah.
to go that full circle, it's like, and likewise coming to America, I met so many people that were people I idolized in my little hometown, it's that I
Yeah.
never thought I'd ever meet, never mind talk to and hang out with, so,
Yeah.
uh, you know, it's a strange idea.
That'd be thrilling though. I mean, as it is, just traveling to a new continent to work on your new music would be just as exciting. But to have all those people that you've thought about over the years or wanted to meet, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, and in a way, it sort of bursts a bubble too. It's like, because it's also magical when you don't know how it's done. And then,
Yeah.
you know, when you see how it's done, you sort of think like, it's not that far away from how I do it myself. You know,
Hmm.
it's not like it's not some absolutely mind blowing thing. It's not like, it's not a magic button or anything like that. It's just work, work, work until you get it right.
Hmm.
impatience and difficulties and arguments, and all the same stuff.
True. True.
Doesn't
That's
yeah. So I thought, like, in my mind, I thought it would be kind of like what, you know, the way I envisioned the Beatles working with George Martin. I thought, like, that he sorted them out. They'd write a song and that he would sort them out. All right, put in
mm,
an F diminished in there and like, and all that stuff. But now I know that's not really how it's done at all. You have to
hmm
do it all, really, and then somebody else just makes sure that it gets on tape. That's about it, really.
maybe just more hands are involved too, more ears are involved sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you need more people. You need more ears. You can make something wonderful on your own. You can. There's no question about it. But it won't be the same thing as you will make with other people.
Mm-hmm.
It's there will be elements to it, depth of field to it that you're not going to get when you're on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very clear for me. I hear like an artist like Ed Sheeran, for instance, and I know he's got other people he's working with, but I do sometimes I just feel that I'm just listening to one person,
Yes.
you know, and because what happens, like this, because I've made albums like the way Ed Sheeran makes albums, and for instance, on this album, I had a band. A band of really high quality musicians. And
Mm.
when I listen to that, I hear a depth of field that I wouldn't have gotten if I was on my own. And I let them.
Yeah.
I wanted them to have a strong say. So I encouraged it. So it's a different thing.
Yeah, no, exactly. It adds so much. And the perfect phrase is depth of field. I'm glad you used that. It's true.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Angelic and an angelic language, 1997,
Yeah.
and that
That,
album.
Well, that album was actually really an album I made on my own.
Mm.
I made it here in my apartment, basically, and
Mm.
it was almost like demonstrations, demos.
Hmm.
And because I'd done so many albums that were produced with, and everything, at that point, I wanted to just do that. I didn't want to deal with anybody else.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, you know, I knew there was a certain magic in that too. As I
Yeah.
said, a different thing. But ultimately, I have to say, when I look back at it, I realized that, in fact, I re-recorded one of the songs from there on this new album, a song called
Mm.
Stephen's Preparing to Leave. I re-recorded it because I feel that the recording I did then was, it didn't do the song complete justice for what could happen to it. It was the early stages of the song, you know, um,
Mm.
which definitely is a special thing. It's another thing. But
Mm.
when you bring in when you flesh it out and you bring other musicians in, some songs should experience that, should have that, and Stephen's Preparing to Leave stood the test of time. It still felt like it was, contemporary, because it was unusual when I wrote it, and then re-recording it added other dimensions, interesting dimensions to it, and I like the way it sounds like with the bands too.
Hmm. And I think it's cool that like both albums are so in what went into making them, just very different that way. It's like two different spectrums of your creativity.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Hmm.
um, yeah, and I think that when you make a record with a band, with a guitar player, prominent guitar player like Jerry Leonard, you're going to also draw in different people.
Hmm.
There are people who can only hear guitars. The electric guitar is the only instrument that speaks to them.
Yeah.
there are people who they really can't. If you give them an album without an electric guitar on, they just don't know what to make of it.
That's so true.
So,
Yeah.
so like, it's like, opening the door to those people,
Mm.
and hopefully they will like it.
And the Irish Times listed you as one of the most important Irish artists of the last 20 years. How does it feel to get a moniker such as that?
Well, when I never really believed it. I read stuff like that and I go, really? It's like, I don't know. It's
Quite an accolade. I like
yeah,
that.
you kind of feel like, are they mistaking me for somebody else? Or did this guy just wake up on a really good day after just, drinking 10 cups of coffee or something and feels
Yeah.
great. And I got the good, it just doesn't feel real when I see stuff like that. It's like,
Mm.
you know, it's a bit like I said. I grew up in a record shop, sort of idolizing these, artists and people that. So if any of it applies to me, it always seems surreal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, it's a good feeling, I'm sure. But yeah, I can understand, especially like, wow, that's a huge thing to say. So it's nice
Yeah,
to hear.
it
The
is nice
music
to hear. Yeah. And of
and
course, it has its disadvantages too, Naomi, that stuff.
yeah.
Because there are people who will go, he is nuts.
Oh, it puts this pressure on you that you didn't have before, and you're like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they're important, because
Yeah.
opinionated people are not that important. It's like,
Yeah.
people with closed minds and are who are looking to criticize all the time are not as important as people who are open-minded.
Yeah. That is true.
Yeah. So we have to remember that every time we make a record, every time we do anything. It came across me, this philosophy really hit me a very long time ago when I was going. I realized that I was trying to prepare myself to go. Well, once I got beyond the point where I was just when I became a professional musician, at one point it was just get on stage and see if I can pull it off. If I can I play this? Can I sing this? Once you get over that point, that you're well
Mm.
able to do that, the next thing you come across is, oh, will they like me or will they not like me? And you start thinking about the audience and looking out at them and seeing people making funny faces and wondering if they hate it, and all that stuff starts going on. And then one day, it dawned on me that no, that's not really the case, because nobody is going to pay to come to see you play to dislike you. They,
Hmm.
they will want to like you because it's very painful for them to not like you.
Yeah.
Uh, So what? And then that changed my whole attitude. And remarkably, that statement, as remarkable as logical as that sounds, I had a conversation with Elton John's manager once, because my wife used to be his assistant, personal assistant,
Hmm.
and I asked him the same question: what do you think audiences are thinking when you go out on stage? And he said, I think they're saying, prove to me that you're good. So I said, no, I don't think that's what they're thinking. I think that they're thinking, please be good.
Hmm.
That's a
Please
different
be
thing.
good. Please be good because I've invested in you.
Yeah, well, because I'm here, even if my friend brought me, or somebody brought me or whatever, I'm here now,
Yeah.
please make this a pleasant experience, make this a great experience. I think it's because he's not a performer. He didn't understand that. But there's a
Mm.
man who's very successful who didn't know that, I think.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah. Well, his take would be on it when he's not the person on stage, right? So I get that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Now you've got the new album coming out February, correct?
yeah,
Terrible Good.
yeah.
Tell me about the process. Were you doing a lot of recording during this pandemic and writing?
Yeah, we recorded it during the pandemic. Yeah,
Hmm.
recorded it beginning of last year. Um, it's like, well, I came back to New York from Ireland in January last year, expecting absolutely nothing to do. I had nothing to do. I had no gigs. I had nothing. And I was thinking, what am I going to do in New York? Why am I even going there? I don't know. And um, when I got here, I got a call from Dick Connett at Story Sound Records, and he said, "I want to speak to you about something, and I have a record label, and maybe I can give some help to you." So I went up to him, thinking like, well, yeah, whatever. I mean, I just went really because I really liked Dick. I known him, and I always liked him, but I thought, who a record label. We all have record labels. But it turns out that Dick really has a real record label, real. With money and power and really and love he's really a huge music lover. So he offered me the budget to make an album, and I said, well, it so happens that I've just reconnected with Jerry Leonard, who played guitar with David Bowie and Rufus Wainwright and Suzanne Vega, and he's from Ireland, and I asked him would he make an album with me, and he said he would. So now, we could do that. And Dick was a huge fan of Jerry's, it turned out. So we that was pretty surprising because I didn't think I would get the budget together to make an album with Jerry, really, because I knew he'd want a bigger budget than I normally would have. Then Jerry said, let's get Tony Shanahan on bass and Yuval Lyon on drums, and Tony plays with Patti Smith and Beck, and Yuval Lyon plays with David Byrne, so it's a pretty all-star lineup. And I thought, yeah, let's get them. That'd be great. And they, of course, weren't busy either because of the pandemic. This is the thing: is nobody was busy.
It's true.
The studio wasn't busy either. So this was fate of some kind. And I had all these songs written and ready to go. And we went into a studio in Long Island City and started recording. Uh, um, it's pretty amazing because when I first met Jerry, it was in the late 90s or mid 90s, around 90s sometime. He mixed my sound and I didn't even know he was a guitar player. And the next time I did see him, he was playing with David Bowie. I was like, what? I didn't even know he played the guitar.
Oh, wow.
So it was fortuitous, really. So then again, here we go. Like I loved David Bowie when I was in Ireland as well. I was a big David Bowie fan as well, and now I'm working with David Bowie's guitar player. It's like a big circle, really.
Well, that's really fascinating how that all came together at the time it did,
Yeah.
with everything going on. And so what do we have to look forward to when this album comes out?
Well, I'm launching it in Joe's Pub in Manhattan. I don't know if you know where Joe's Pub. It's a really great club.
I
one of the
haven't heard of it.
Yeah, and it's one of the top 5 clubs in America according to Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
It is wonderful. Yeah, it's part of the Public Theater, and we're launching the album there on March 17th, which is just a coincidence because I'm Irish. And I just got the album yesterday. I have it here in my hand.
Nice.
Yeah, I just got it, and it's great because you see this booklet that's inside of it. I could never afford to make these when I was making my own album. It's a 24-page booklet inside here with all the lyrics and meanderings about what made each song and everything like that. It's an absolutely beautiful thing, and
Yes.
that's Story Sound. I guess I got to thank Story Sound for that. Then we're going to stream that show from Joe's Pub and recorded it on a 3 camera shoot, I should say, and high class or high quality audio. And we're going to be putting that up on the internet so everyone can look at it. That's the
Good,
first thing to do.
good. So by the time this drops, we'll be able to put out the links there about where people can follow you, and then they can see the stream, which will be nice.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, thank
You
you so
sound,
much.
you
Because I
sound,
hope,
you sound
but
like you live in Manhattan.
yeah, but you see, this proves that we're not faking this, Naomi.
Yeah,
This is
it's
the real.
true.
Yeah, there's Manhattan outside there screaming and shouting at me.
What's
Yeah.
been one of your most memorable performances that that you recall throughout your career?
Well, I'm playing at Glastonbury,
Mm.
in front of 60,000 people. It was pretty memorable. And I went on at prime time because of a weird thing that happened. Suzanne Vega was headlining that night, and she brought me on as a special guest at 7 o'clock. I was supposed to be on at noon.
Mhm.
Um, so that was a pretty amazing experience, I have to say.
Mm.
Probably that feat. I did Carnegie Hall with Philip Glass and Patti Smith as well, which was pretty memorable,
Yeah.
very memorable. Philip played keyboard with me, and I played piano, and that was a great thing. Um, I suppose that's it. The most memorable things.
Those would be great memories.
Yeah,
When we talk about Ireland, how long have you been living in America now?
30 years.
Why, quite a while, hey?
Yeah, but I've been here the whole time. That's when I came here first.
Hmm. When you think about Ireland, what are some of your favorite things about the country? And if you were to tell a tourist going to visit there, what would you recommend to them?
Don't drink alcohol, first of all.
A lot of them probably come there to do just that.
Yeah. No, I'm joking, of course. I think the first thing that really strong advice I'd give to anybody going to Ireland is don't follow the tourist guides, you know, because they are so warped. All the tourism for Ireland is geared towards emigration.
Mm.
Uh, Most of the people emigrated from Ireland uh, during the potato famine in 1847. They came, they left during that because they had to. Ireland had a population of 8 million people in 1847, and now has a population of 5 million people.
Mm.
We lost like 3 million people because of the potato famine. And they went to Canada, Australia, America. They came from the west coast of Ireland, Mayo, Galway, Cork, these places, because it was just convenient. I mean, it sounds nuts, but crossing the country was so difficult when you were starving. And, even if it's a small country, you can't walk 400 miles to go on a ferry to England, you know.
Yeah.
So they went to America, and they went to Canada, and they went to Australia. They left from and they came from the west coast. So all the tourism is based on the west coast of Ireland. People think, oh, the west of Ireland is gorgeous, and that everything else, they think it's just barren or something. I don't know what they think.
Mm.
But in actual fact, this southeast, where I come from, is where the Irish go on holidays, in
Mm.
Wexford and around there, Wicklow. It's really important to explore those places too. Don't
Mhm.
just go to the west coast. The west coast is great also, and don't get me wrong, but it's just that Ireland doesn't finish on the west coast. If you go to Dublin, for instance, you're going to experience a very different thing, because Dublin is the capital of Ireland, and It's very cosmopolitan, and there's a very different energy. And you
Mm.
should experience it. You should go there, and you should go down the coast, on that coast, stay on that coast, and experience the train ride down along from Dublin to Wexford. It hugs the coastline all the way, and it feels like it's going to drop into the sea all the time.
Oh, wow.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
That's a place I definitely haven't visited yet, and it should be right up there. Sounds beautiful.
Yeah. Where have you been to Ireland at all? No.
I haven't left North America.
Have you not? Have you got a
No.
passport?
Oh,
Have you?
yes. I mean, I've been waiting a couple of years to use it, but I'm ready. I'm ready for some travel again,
I
hopefully
think
soon.
so. Yes, Naomi, get out of there.
Now, just a few more questions to wrap things up, kind of 90s centric questions for you. When the internet became a thing in the 90s, did you use it at all to promote your music? Were you involved in it in the 90s when it was new?
Yeah, the minute it came out, I jumped all over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Hmm.
I mean, the thing, I mean, yes, I hate Spotify and all these people who have just like taken all away our royalties, and pretend that they're doing it to, further the cause or whatever. But in actual fact,
Hmm.
there are too many people feeding off music. But if the internet had been around when I was, it was a lot of the stuff that was happening for me, like in the 90s. If the internet had been around, I would have been like, it would have made my life a lot easier.
Hmm.
I wouldn't have made as much money probably, but it would have been, I had a big audience, a fairly big audience. That audience would have been, could have taken off to a much bigger audience very quickly with the help of the internet. You wouldn't be, it wasn't localized. It's like if you have an audience, like I had a big audience in Manhattan, but if you had a big audience in Manhattan, that would have been, that would have led me to a national situation quicker than getting in a van and driving around America.
Yeah.
You know, Ed
Hmm.
Sheeran hasn't driven around the world in a van like U2 did.
Hmm.
So yes, I took advantage. So when I saw this opportunity to reach people through the internet, I jumped on it.
That's good. Okay, so I found that when I talk to people about the internet and when it came out, a lot of them avoided it. Like they thought that it was some kind of fad or trend that, was not going to be productive for them. And now here we are and we can't live without it.
Yeah. Well, I think that suspicion is a very bad thing for an artist to have.
Mhm.
I can't tell you many artists that I know that never got signed to a record company because they were suspicious all the time. They always
Mhm.
thought they were getting ripped off. If the record company said they wanted some of their publishing, they thought that, well, I'm not giving you my publishing. I never had
Read.
that.
You just have
I'm
to
all,
just read the contract through and you'll see what's going
yeah,
on.
yeah. My approach is yes, you can have everything, just do something.
Mhm.
It's like, help me, and
Yeah. Or you could be
uh,
missing out on everything if you just got to really read it.
yeah, or like I've seen, like, take an artist like Paul Simon. He was very savvy. Paul Simon was. I remember reading this years ago, and that he wouldn't give his publishing to anybody and everything like that. Well, obviously Paul Simon did very well for himself. He's
Mm.
hugely successful, obviously, but now Paul Simon is worth what, 600 million or something like that. And if he had gone and given some of his publishing away, would it have been such a big disaster if he had 200 million now instead of 600 million?
No,
you know
exactly.
no, it does. It's not worth it. Let other people take let other people get involved and let them have some of it.
It's a business for
Yeah,
all things considered.
I think the worst thing you do is work on your own all the time. That'll be really boring and really unhealthy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And surrounding yourself with good, honest people is probably very important as well, because there's always going to be some shady characters, but if you can find the right people, yeah.
Yeah, there are people who will waste your time,
Mhm.
Yeah, I have. I knew a guy who was he was a fan of this band, and he was very annoyed about something. And I said, well, what's wrong exactly? I thought you really liked them, He said, yeah, but they never ever gave me anything back from my investment. And I said, so like, what did you invest? He said, well, I put $150 into them, and I never got anything back.
Wow, really broke the bank.
And I thought, he didn't have any money, in fairness to him, but like, what did
Yeah.
he think? And why would they take the $150? It's like, what? So you get that kind of silliness. You don't want to be involved with that kind of silliness.
True. That's petty. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, to wrap things up, of course, when you think back to that decade of the 90s, what kind of food, clothing, item, toy, something that would make you nostalgic for that era?
Well, for the 90s.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I asked everybody this question. Let me wrap it up.
Well, I would say I would have to pick music of and that like I was some of the music that was around then, the B-52s and Prince and
Nice.
that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm nostalgic for that more than anything,
Yeah.
and I, and then earlier seeing people like Talking Heads and Brian Ferry on the same bill, that kind of thing was just mind blowing for me. And so that it's I'd have to say it's the music.
Mm-hmm.
Nostalgic hearing that music.
And same for me. That's why I do this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. The clothes, are so weird. I mean, they just keep going around. It just keeps going around in circles, Well, it's just basically the same clothes getting recycled all the time,
A lot of those looks have come back already. So
Yeah, now I think bell bottoms are back in. Somebody told me. Bell bottoms.
really,
Yeah.
really again.
Yeah, again. This is the other thing. It's again.
I like them better than the skinny jeans.
I do too.
The skinny jeans annoy me. I can't stand them.
I don't like them either. And they say now that if you wear skinny jeans, it gives everything away from what you're thinking. What era you're into or whatever. Skinny jeans date you more than anything, apparently.
All right. Well, if they're on the way out, I'm happy with that.
Plus, they're a real pain in the arse to get off. It's it's like
torture.
Yeah, and getting them on, at least you can sort of lie on the bed and pull them on or something like that. But getting them off, really, absolutely horrible. No, I agree with you. Let them go.
Easily let them go, no problem.
Yeah.
Well, Pierce, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And I hope you had fun talking about everything with me. And yeah, it was great.
Great talking to you too, Naomi.
And thanks. Sorry about our hiccup there with the microphone. I'm glad I got that sorted.
That's all right. So, all right, then get your passport and head off to Ireland.
Get going. Yes.
Right.
Get going to Ireland.